everyone. A very good afternoon to you all. Thank you for joining Natasha and me today to discuss a topic that's important to each and every one of us. As we all know, Pakistan is the 5th most populous country in the world, and we have a 50% population that comprises of women. Yet the interesting fact is that we rank at number 142 out of 146 countries in the Global Gender Gap Index report that has been published by the World Economic Forum. Another interesting fact that has been published by the UN is that gender inequality poses one of the greatest human rights challenges. So given this perspective, we have improved over the years in certain aspects, economic inclusion of women, social, culturally. But what we are talking about today and what needs to be addressed is how do we accelerate this growth? From where we are now, how do we fast track it to be where we want to be? Our discussion today is going to inspire a lot of other people to see the value and importance of women's inclusion in a number of things, not only in the workforce, but in decision making, in leadership roles, etc. We are very thankful to Unilever for giving us this beautiful boardroom to have this very interesting discussion. And both Natasha and me are very excited to start asking some of these wonderful, inspiring, leading women all what they have to share with us on this topic. Natasha?
Thank you, Farhat, for the comprehensive introduction. So it has been a ritual at Media Matters. Every year on Women's Day, we organize a panel discussion and give a tribute to all those women out there. And this year also we have partnered with Wow 360. Farhat is here with us. We are bringing you a very exciting panel of accomplished women from different parts of life, and especially who are paving the way for the next generation in male-dominated sectors like tech, e-commerce, agriculture, etc. So thank you once again for joining us, ladies. And I would like to introduce my first panelist, who is Evelyn Julia Gill. She's the Head of Deposits, Wealth Management and CRM at JS Bank. Hello, Evelyn.
Hi, Natasha. How are you?
I'm fine. Then we have Humaira Ahmed. She's the Head of HR Operations, Africa, Middle East and Asia at Syngenta.
Thank you for
Hi,
having me.
Humaira. Fatma Arshad, Head of Sustainability and Communications, Unilever Pakistan.
Thank you.
Welcome. Andaleep Arus Ahmed, Head of Communications, Philip Morris Pakistan Limited. Hello, Andaleep. So let's start the discussion and open the panel. Farhat, if you could lead the first question.
Sure. So Evelyn, my first question is directed at you. What inspired you to pursue a career in your respective field, and how do you envision your role in advancing gender equity within your industry?
Okay, so it's a very interesting and funny story at the same time. So we're 5 siblings, I'm the youngest, and all my siblings were in medicine.
Okay.
So there was this thing, everyone is going in medicine, sab doctor banna hai. So my thing was the same. And so I ended up being in pre-med, except I was not excited about it. It did not appeal to me, it did not speak to me. Had it been into veterinarian, I would have wanted to become a veterinarian, but that was not, everyone was becoming a doctor in my family. And for them, they were very passionate about it. I wasn't. I wanted to be in the corporate world, except I didn't know how to go about it. So it wasn't a straight route, and there were a lot of loops. So even in my studies, I was first in pre-med, then I moved into microbiology, then I did ICM, and then I went into ACCA, and then I somehow ended up in banking. And then I never looked back. Once I was there, I realized this is my place. I work exceptionally well under high pressure situations. When there are deadlines, I actually get a high out of it. So, I was built for this thing, and it just kind of worked. So what happened was that it's been about 16 years now. over the course of time, what I've seen is that when I entered the industry, I did not see a lot of female leadership or female bosses. I, for once, have never had a female boss. I've always had male bosses, and they've been very supportive as well. So when I actually got a position where I am in a position to create impact, or when I advise something, my staff is listening, my team members are listening. So I thought it's best to use that in a very positive manner. So the kind of products we design are now designed to include as many women as possible, because financial inclusivity is one of the challenges we have in Pakistan. So we're trying to address that. And so the sort of products we have, nobody wants to walk into a branch just like that. So we wanted it to be more holistic. We want people to start talking about their mental well-being, their health as well. So JS Her is a product that's been designed as a financial means, but we have attached a free of cost insurance coverage, which is basically, it covers 7 types of female-specific cancers free of cost for anybody who is a part of JS Her community. And that is something the bank has offered free to all JS Her customers. That was designed so people can at least start talking about their health. That, God forbid somebody gets cancer, it's considered a taboo subject. We wanted to change all of that. So there was one way how we started impacting change. At work level, what we've done is we have worked on our policies internally, whether it's gender sensitivity, whether it's improving our gender ratio. My side of the floor is actually called Estrogen Central, because 50% of my team is all women. And another interesting factor is that when we were working on JS Her, this was one product that took a record 14 days. And majority of the staff working on it was all women. And it was,
That's right.
Yeah. And we launched it on Women's Day a couple of years back. So the aim was that we'll launch it on Women's Day. So this was one of the few things. From a bank's perspective, from a policy perspective, if I give my example, so during peak COVID time, I was expecting and I was on bed rest. So I called my boss like, I am on bed rest, I can't come. And throughout my pregnancy, I was allowed to work from home. And we use that same model afterwards as well. So we have a work from home policy available as well. Now that you have technology, you can use it in a brilliant manner. Like, you can always be connected. You've got Teams, you've got other softwares as well. So we use that so nobody has to, if you can work from home and deliver at the same pace, why not do it?
I'm going to hold you there because we have a question later on which you can give a lot of input, especially this perspective. So हम थोड़ी देर रुक जाते for the answer to that. Natasha.
Yes. So my next question is aimed at Humaira. Humaira, how do you believe investing in women can positively impact corporate culture?
So that's a very good question. I think to be able to answer that question, it would be important that I share some context of the times we live in. The times we live in is that technology has overtaken our lives. COVID has taught us how to live and work differently. The generational differences are becoming more and more obvious. What the organizations are finding is that they are not able to generate revenue or be successful doing the same things that they were doing earlier. Whether that's through digitization, that's the kind of products you just highlighted, the product for women, or the kind of services that you provide. What else is changing is not only the organizations have to come up with different offerings, but the way the organizations have to work, they have to hire, they have to actually structure their policies, all of that is changing. Keeping that in context, let me add some global perspective. A study by Boston Consulting recently identified that in organizations where you have more female managers, the revenues are 36% higher.
Oh, wow.
Not only that, investors want to buy organizations that are led by women because they feel that there will be more revenue growth there. At the same time, women-led organizations are more innovative. So research plus the context that we're living in shows that we need to be more innovative, and gender diverse organizations are more innovative. From our own workspaces, we know that when we have better gender diversity at workplace, we get better solutions in everyday matters, whether that's the way we're working, process reviews, or just simple emotionally intelligent ideas. that is why it is important for organizations to invest in women. In Syngenta, I'll be very honest with you, we are in an industry, agriculture industry. The World Bank data shows that in Pakistan, over 60% of the unofficial workforce is women. We have no option but to invest in women. And we have no option but to bring that perspective, that thought process from women into our organization to be successful.
And the general perception that we have of the agriculture industry and the farmers is that it's all probably male dominated.
Yeah, you have to go to the
Yeah,
fields
but
to see.
I noticed कि जब हम गुजरते हैं on you know when you're going inter country, जब आप गाड़ी में जाते हैं तो आप देखते हैं औरतें खेतों में ज़्यादा नजर आती हैं.
And sorry Farhat, I'm just going to add, ये औरतें आती हैं सुबह 5 बजे से काम कर रही होती हैं और ये 1 बजे चली जाती हैं क्योंकि इन्हें घर जाके खाना पकाना होता है, इनको रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज होती हैं. अगर किसी के बच्चे स्कूल जा रहे हैं तो उनको घर उनको बच्चों. So I've met these women, they add the beautiful colors to your farm greenery, but at the same time they're adding beautiful value to our agriculture sector and the food security of our nation.
Even I was in Hunza a while ago, and all the women out there in the fields were, there were women out there in the fields, not men, which was like
Even
very
in Sindh,
empowering.
I've seen date plantations, banana plantations, सारी नज़र आती हैं औरतें वहाँ पे. So thank you for that perspective. My next question is to Fatma. Fatma, how has the representation of women in leadership roles evolved within the companies you work at, that is here at Unilever for you, over the past decade, and what initiatives have been instrumental in driving this change?
I think it's firstly important to contextualize the answer by understanding that the products we make are for women. So if you don't have women in positions of decision making and innovating and selling and reaching out to consumers, it just doesn't make sense. I think the fact that Unilever has always held itself to very ambitious standards when it comes to gender equality first, and now we're talking about equity. There's a lot of the contribution that comes in of how many women are in our systems. 2 of our past CEOs in the 10 years that I've seen in the company have been women. And it is only because the organization has made systemic decisions to ensure that there is representation at the top. And when you have representation of the top, it will naturally trickle down across the organization. और अगर आप इस perspective से भी देखें कि आपकी representation उसी सूरत में आ सकती है जब आपके कुछ targets set हों. So a lot of organizations have the right intentions, but they're not really pushing themselves or really getting governance into place to achieve those standards. When we talk about 50-50, we are asked about are we 50-50 as much as we are asked about how our business is doing. And until you have that, you will not have representation within the system. So that is, I think, one big way जिस तरह आप representation और growth बढ़ा सकते हैं. But it's not just about getting women in. It's also about once a woman is in your system, what is her experience? Is she there at the entry level roles, at junior roles, or is she actually growing through the organization and getting into those positions of leadership? और I think collectively अब अगर हम industry में किसी से भी पूछेंगे, especially पाकिस्तान में, मसला आता है in tipping the scale when it comes to women leaders. So you'll have a lot of women who are joining. You will eventually lose women out because of things that are happening in their life and with their family. And then there's this kind of vacuum and very few women kind of make it into leadership position. इसको consciously एक तो understand किया गया है हमारी organization में कि what are those challenges that lead to you losing women out. अगर वो किसी की शादी होने पे होता है या फिर spouse is moving abroad होने पे होता है या फिर family start होने पे होता है या if for a lot of women who may not have children, they have parents to take care of or responsibilities at home. How do we solve for that? So just very simple solutions, having a daycare at work would be the most basic thing, allowing you to work from anywhere. If you're a woman with a spouse who's left the country, that could be one way to solve for it. And we are calling it equity.
So everyone, we are 6 women, we will have very different challenges, very different needs. Our context is different. How do we bring in equitable solutions for them? And that is where we are focusing on. And equity could be flexibility. कि आप किस तरह के work models create करते हैं, not just working from home, but even beyond that. I might want to work 5 hours a week, 4 days, and that could be my work model. And somebody might want to live in Lahore but work for an organization in Karachi. We could look at equity from a lens of the fact that when a girl is offered a position and she needs to relocate, do you have a guest house? Do you have a policy to support that? Implementing and institutionalizing solutions like that is what is helping us push the numbers. And we're not after the numbers, we're also after, you're in the organization, how do we make sure that you have a fulfilling experience?
Thank you, Fatma. ये तो आपने बहुत अच्छा perspective बताया, especially about a nurturing environment for women. And I couldn't help but think of the film Barbie, because there's a scene where she's there, and they talk about how decision making at the top 4 women is made by a whole board of men. So I'm really glad that you brought that point in, that consciously making this effort to involve women in leadership roles to make decisions for women.
So, Arus, I'd like to ask you the next question. How do companies address the persistent challenges women face in the workplace today, and what concrete measures have they taken to actively support women's professional development and advancement, leading to measurable impact on gender equality within their organizations?
Thank you, Natasha. I think the first and foremost is within the question that how do we make those solutions towards those challenges is, as Fatma said, putting women in those positions as well, where they can have a say and relate their own experiences. So, जैसे कोविड ने हमें सिखाया कि आप कहीं से भी काम कर सकते हैं, so long as काम होना चाहिए. उसमें it was not just about women at that point, and I think locally हमें ये ज़्यादा समझ आया, because internationally, yes, UNSDG से connect करने के लिए and to meet those goals, there was always a conversation. But how to actually bring it into effect, I think COVID was one of the best teachers around this. And we realized that it's not just women. Men can work from home. Men have a duty towards their children as well, their parents as well. It's not just women. And everybody came together to do things at home also, सफाई भी कर रहे हैं, साथ में खाना भी पका रहे हैं, बच्चों को भी देख रहे हैं, it just evolved. So practically जब ये करके देखा गया, I think that is something that we really understood. And we also introduced like smart work, and that's not just for women. Yes, women have those challenges, and that is what we've seen. They come into the workforce. कभी किसी को पढ़ाई के लिए चले जाना होता है, शादी करके चले जाना होता है, move करना पड़ जाता है, family life, all of that. Those are the realities of life. But just having those laws in place about maternity leave, there should be paternity leave also. Now it's come into effect in many organizations, and it is working really well. There's a primary caregiver leave and there's a secondary caregiver leave. Other than that, there's the flexibility of smart work, where you can work from home, you can work remotely. During COVID, that was a challenge because nobody was being able to understand, and they were working around the clock and all of that. So we segmented that into power hours, that you're working from home, even if you're working from the office. You need to go pick up your child from school, you have a doctor's appointment, you have to take care of anything, errands or whatever. You align with your line manager, you have that power hour, you can make up for it later, so long as kaam ho raha. So the whole point of it is kaam ho raha ho, and it's not just women that face those challenges, is what we need to understand most. So organizations, when they have a level playing field and they are putting in the effort to put merit before anything else, I think gender equality generally just comes up like that. And I've seen it not just within Philip Morris, but I've been seeing it around more and more organizations, smaller industries, smaller organizations. I think everybody is accepting those challenges and working towards solutions
Wonderful. So I have a question here from everyone. Especially in our society, women do take career gaps because of getting married, having children, and all of that. I myself have gone through that and joined the workforce after quite a long gap. So I feel that these women are underconfident when they do want to join. First of all, they do not get hired because of maybe a 10-year gap or more. And even if they do get hired, they are underconfident. They don't feel that they have that kind of attitude and the passion that already those women have reached higher on the ladder, who all started the careers with them. So what have your companies done for women like this? Is there anything special that your companies have done for women with career breaks?
So for us, this is the third year running that we've got the Make Your Comeback program. So it all started with the idea that, there's brilliant women out there, let's get them back into the workforce. And within the first year, I think the amount of applications that we got, and it was, social media works. So we made sure to reach out on different levels. So there's the first ever program that we did. We actually got a girl who was actually part of Unilever at one point, and so was her husband. She's now based in Switzerland, and she's working from home because she's a mother also, and she has actually started her own blog and has a massive following. And we got her to do a podcast for us, and that got us so many different types of women. And we realized that because of the kind of work that we do, we have factory, and then we have farms that we work in. So we have different kinds of operations, and the kinds of applications that we got were across the board. So we got women who have taken career breaks of 2 years to 10 years coming in and saying that, okay, we have the skills, we have the skill set. And then once we got shortlisted them, got them in different departments, we started mentorship programs for them. So they were not just working with the department that they were taken into, but across the board, because we do have female leadership as well. We made sure to introduce them to female leadership, as well as get them acquainted with, so if, say for example, I'm from communications and I have a person who's joined back after like a certain gap, may it be parenthood that they were doing or whatever. They come back, they're obviously a little, jittery that, okay, do I know this? Can I do this? Can I say this? Get them into different meetings, give them that experience, give them that exposure, and not just within your own department. So I made sure that, my colleague went into the finance meetings as well. Just having that connect, getting it. The whole point is, when you leave somewhere, there is a certain discomfort that you can take pleasure in. That's something that we encourage so that they get more challenged as well. So it's a continuity process. We've done 3 cohorts, and we try to sustain it by mentoring programs.
Another sad reality that we are seeing today is that a lot of women and men, their marriages don't work out, and the divorce rate is going up, and many of them women especially have to get back into the workforce. बच्चे हैं देखने के लिए, and you want your own financial independence. But एक डर होता है कि लोग क्या बोलेंगे, मैं वापस जाऊंगी, I'm much older now, I have to face with
that
younger people, and there's the learning gap. So peers, all of that, and you are struggling with emotionally otherwise also. तो it's great कि आपकी जैसी organizations ने इस perspective को भी मद्देनज़र रखा है, and you are looking into mentoring and rehabilitating women back into the workforce, I would say. So,
Evelyn, if you would like to add something?
So we have a JS returnship program. As part of this program, women who've taken a career break, maybe perhaps because they've got married or they had a baby, so we try to bring them back into the financial industry. So I have a vertical parked under me, which is called Banking on Equality. The person who's leading is an amazing girl. She's part of that program. Okay. And when you're talking about, you need women to make decisions, right? Unless they're on the decision-making table, how do you know what's right? Because they've experienced all that. So she's leading that and she's doing an amazing job. And as part of that, it did not just stop at bringing back all of our female staff who had left the industry. We took another step. We set up a JSR entrepreneurial community.
Okay.
So we have a lot of local entrepreneurs who are making amazing products, and we were like, let's talk about that. Why do we have to talk about imported products and all that? So we reached out to all of these entrepreneurs. Some of them are emerging entrepreneurs, and some of them are quite established. So we said, okay, how about we set up this community? We will help you build up your business as well, and anything that you need, financial knowledge, trainings, boot camps, we will be partnering with you to help you come up the curve as well. So as part of that entire vertical that we set up, we started with internship, and then we took one another step and we built the entrepreneurial community. So that started this year. And the first step we've done is all of our giveaways for the Women's Day, those are all by those entrepreneurs. We did not get anything that was out of the market. We just asked them, do a customized version for us. So they did a collab, like JS into their business name. So, and they made an entire thing. So those are the giveaways we're giving out as well. So that was one way of not just the banking bit, but also let's reach out to the community and let's see how we set things up. So
Thanks, Evelyn. I think you've kind of answered the next question, which was being directed at you, about what innovative approaches have been successful in encouraging more women to pursue careers in traditional male-dominated areas such as banking. So I think you've given us really good good pointers. So if there's anything else that you would like to add in here.
Yeah, sure. So this was one part of the policy that we've implemented at JS. So we are a very regulated industry. So State Bank regulates us, and they do give a guideline, but that's a guideline. So we've built up upon that guideline as well. So like you had said, daycare is a start, right? You need to do these small things really matter. Like thinking about if you can work from home, that's one thing that you can do for any person to be able to work. Having leadership positions when women are placed there, they're more empathetic. They understand if you need to do a quick school round, it's okay. As long as your work is getting done, does it really matter if you're leaving at 5 or if you're leaving at 5:30 or if you're leaving at 6? So I think that entire view of how we're looking at things has evolved. We have a policy that if someone has a babysitter, so there's an allowance that a person gets for kids 3 years and under. So that is one way. There's a gender sensitivity program in place because our male colleagues need to be just as sensitized. They need to understand, like if a woman is having a bad day, maybe she's on her periods.
Honestly, we also have a program that's called Career by Choice, and the intent of it jab start hua tha wo yahi tha ki that there are many women who leave or take career breaks and they come back. But in also byproduct and kind of good result that we saw was it helped a lot of our women stay in the system. Because they went on maternity leave, but they felt that they needed to prolong or continue on more flexible arrangements, and having that option actually even prevented them from having to take a break. And it might be that someone needs that break, and they're good to make that decision. Or program returnship या फिर career by choice or make your comeback ज़रूर होने चाहिए. But there's a big way that we can help women who are in the system not have to make that difficult choice also. Especially if they are willing to take on more flexible arrangements and still stay within the industry and stay in touch. We have women in very senior roles who are doing career by choice, and they're managing their families. They're also continuing to add value to the organization and continuing their careers, because we just had that option to make a switch. And ek dafa, when a senior woman made that choice, we saw a lot of other women kind of take it up because it was excellent role modeling as well.
That's
very important.
Yeah. It's so refreshing to see that all these companies have, made these initiatives for young women to, continue with their work. Because when I myself and Farhat started off the careers,
we didn't have these.
It was all very rigid and 9 to 5 jobs,
and no
work from
flexibility.
Home, so we couldn't even imagine. No flexibility. You couldn't go to pick your children or anything. So फिर आपको छोड़ना ही पड़ता है. When women don't have a support system, what can they do? So I think this is I really appreciate all these companies who have started all of these initiatives.
It helps having been through that, because like you and Farhat, I was not given an option to go to a part-time employment because उस वक्त companies नहीं offer रही थी. I was in one of the best organizations in the country, but I knew that I would have to give more time at home with my first baby, and I had to switch. I had to leave my job, and consulting and part-time consulting was the only thing that I could do. Having said this, when I came to a role where I had the authority to make a difference, I looked at organizations like yourselves, and we also started a program, and I think that has made, we are now making a difference towards other women. So the role modeling, the impact we create. In Syngenta we have Lotao, you know, it just simply says Lotao, right? And Lotao means you just left this and now it's time to come back to the fold, right? And we have 3 days a week, 6 hours a day, you know, the nanny allowance and all that. But the idea is for them to come back to the fold. We're not trying to make them permanent into this organization or bind them. We are trying to just give them this space while they add value to the organization, immense value to the organization, for them to come back to the corporate fold and then jahan aapke raste, become our ambassador if nothing.
No, I think that's really good. Initially when I was working, मेरे पास ये choice नहीं थी, and I went back to the workforce when my kids were 7.
Yes.
But my company allowed me to work 9 to 1 and work from home. It was a lot of years ago. And I had told them, give me 10 days if I can work it out. But I lasted 13 years because of this flexibility. And my time grew as my kids grew. It really happened that way.
Yeah.
And I think I was
That's the
able to
way it should
achieve
be.
that.
And the companies have to be supportive of
Bilkul,
women to
bilkul.
continue.
So another,
To add one point, I think it's also very important that with Gen Z and Gen Alpha and the people who are now younger in the workplace, it doesn't even have to be decisions like having a family or getting married that they'll ask flexibility for. People are taking breaks to go and study, to reskill themselves, to start a side hustle.
To travel, to make content.
Absolutely.
That's the new thing.
And if we don't have an understanding of that, हमारे employment models irrelevant हो जाएंगे. And that will be regardless of gender, by the way.
I think that's a very good point you
sure.
raised. Another statistic that surprised me was a UN statistics revealing that 1 in 5 women live with a disability, and encompassing physical, psychological, intellectual and other forms. So what specific efforts are currently underway or can be initiated to enhance inclusivity for this particular demographic?
I think that's a really important one, and we're still early in our journey, and I think there's a gender nuance and a lens to it. But beyond that, in Pakistan, I think सबसे बड़ी opportunity तो ये है कि how do we bring people with visible and invisible disabilities into the workforce. Unilever started a program that we call Uplift, and that is for disability inclusion. And it was really important for us to have a structured trainee program where we knew that every year we have a target that we've set across our different departments in the company of people that we can bring into the system. When they come into the system, even with the same disability, people will have very diverse challenges. And if you add the gender lens to it, I think it just becomes an even more challenging process for them to come in. I have someone in my team, she has a visual disability. She's a mother of 2. She brings her children to the daycare. She uses company transport, and we were at a colleague's wedding the other day, and we were just having a chat which was not about work, and she said, you know, I don't think I could ever have imagined working if these 2 very basic things that we take for granted every day would not have been available. Because it's not just about having that challenge, as everyone has that challenge, but when you have a person with a disability to have that challenge, it becomes much more nuanced. The fact that there is transport and someone in the car to help navigate, to drop you at your doorstep, to make it easy for you in how you navigate around the office, to have the fact that your spouse can come in and take care of the kids if you are someone with a disability or you need that in place. those are big things in the experience of that person in the workplace. और अब हम अपने आप को ये भी पुश कर रहे हैं कि the intake that we have of candidates, can we make it gender equal at least in the start of things as well, because a lot of people with disability don't have the opportunity of going through the same educational systems, the same traditional systems of building up the right skills and investing in their skills, especially women, जिनकी from a gender lens and a disability lens access limit हो जाती, that is where we want to now push ourselves.
Okay, excellent.
I think, do you guys have like a transgender inclusivity thing also?
We do, and I think Uplift was a part of that. I mean, there's one aspect under Uplift which covered that. We've had people in the system. There have been challenges, there have been learnings, but we are also looking at, being really prepared for the people that you bring into the system, because that is not enough. आप किसी को ले आएं और उसका experience आप positive नहीं बना पाते, then that is not setting them up for success. So we started with sensitization. We started with making sure our infrastructure is supportive, gender neutral washrooms हैं आपके पास, हमें जो terms पता होने चाहिए, जो चीज़ें हमें पता होने चाहिए, whether it's with disability, trans or women, we're trying to do that job first before we really
maybe
expand.
it's too soon for Pakistan at the moment, but maybe in the future.
But we are open to it. Just want to pace ourselves and really make it structured and meaningful before we go to scale.
Definitely. Humaira, how can companies ensure that their policies and practices are not only inclusive but also equitable to all genders, especially in regions like Pakistan with diverse cultural norms?
So that's interesting. I like to go back to the basics when I'm thinking of something, and I'd like to go to what we mean by equitable first, right? And you highlighted that, and it's been discussed. So Gallup's definition of equity is fair treatment, access, and advancement to all concerned. I'm going to repeat this because this is very important. Fair treatment, access, and advancement. That basically implies that what we need to, if we want to be equitable, what we need to do is remove any kind of disadvantage of any group, and unfairness in the system. So I think within our culture, there is by design, I think the way our households are, family structures are, ख़वातीन का ये role है, and this is stereotypical, and I have to highlight that I am talking about very general statements here. Women have a certain role, men have a certain role, and now women are starting to work, but most of the times, even when you're working, you're required to cook, you have to do all these responsibilities, बच्चे की भी responsibility, and so on and so on. So there is because of the role definitions, there is the fair access and fair treatment is questionable or debatable, let's just say, right? And so there are, you would have 400 people in sales, very simple example, we all have sales people in our organizations, but most of them, 99% of them would be men, because समझा जाता है कि औरतें डोर टू डोर सेल्स नहीं कर सकती. हमारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में औरतें फार्मर के पास एक खेत से दूसरे खेत नहीं जा सकती. एंड बाय द वे इट इज़ अ चैलेंज, बिकॉज कल्चरली इट्स अ चैलेंज. जब वो किसी खेत पे जाते हैं तो वहाँ पे एक खट होती है, वहाँ पे एक दरख्त के नीचे एक बंदा लेटा हुआ होता है, कभी उसने किस हालत में होता है, किस दूसरी हालत में होता है, और एक औरत अकेली वहाँ जाके जाना, उसकी ट्रीटमेंट, फेयर ट्रीटमेंट, दी एक्सेस टू दैट फार्म. रोड टूटा हुआ होता है अक्सर. मैं जब गाड़ी में होती हूँ, पीछे बैठी हुई होती हूँ, जब रोड इतना टूटा हुआ होता है तो मैं खुद कह रही होती हूँ, भाई कहाँ जा रहे हैं, मेरी आवाज़ निकलती है. सो द फैक्ट ऑफ द मैटर इज, how do we make in this context situations which are fair for both genders? I think it's a challenge. Policies that we can do, we all try. We can't change what's happening at home. We can't change the cultural dynamics or cultural setting on its own. We all try. Yeah, I think especially media has a huge role in this, social media including. What we are doing in Syngenta, so for example, if there are saleswomen and we expect them to go to field, we ensure that they have a companion. Doesn't have to be a driver, you're confident, drive yourself. But make sure that you have a companion
with you.
for at least the first year of your employment so that you know where you're going. We are sensitive about where we send you. Yeah. We understand that in hiring people, जो हम अभी बात कर रहे थे, with career gaps don't have an advantage, they have a disadvantage. So you have programs like Lotto. We have policies, women when they come back to work after maternity, for example, they have an issue coming back to work full time, responsibilities, so on and so forth. And you're handling things on individual basis. So graduated return to work policies. Maternity, paternity are now basic, but ensuring that your harassment policy is not just for women but also for men.
Yeah.
And then, last but not the least, I think what's important is sometimes, and this is the other side of it, because in a lot of situations, the men are making decisions about advancement, right? What happens is that sometimes by showing care, you take away the opportunity from a woman. So I know of examples where a woman was not asked if she wants a role because that role was outside of the city and they said, "Uske to do bachche hain, wo kaise jayegi?" Ask.
Yeah.
Give the choice.
Give the choice.
She mentioned career by choice. Give the choice.
Arus, what are some effective ways to promote work-life balance and support mechanism for working mothers within your organization? I think we have slightly touched on the subject earlier as well, but please let's elaborate.
So, of course, mothers who have just come back from maternity leave, of course, they already have designated allotted time that they have taken, but there's also extra leave that they may take. That is there. Then secondary caregiver leave, instead of calling it paternal leave, we're calling it secondary caregiver leave, and it is not restricted to the time that the mother might be taking off. So they can take it at any given time during the first year of the child being born. That I think has really shown remarkable improvement in the way that families appreciate organizations. And when you make an employee happy, he goes back happy, she goes back happy, the family's appreciating it, you automatically get more productivity.
Yes.
So that's one thing that we've implemented. Other than that, of course, is flexible working hours for women to go pick up their kids. Same for men. It is not restricted to just women
I also
wanting
feel
to
that
go.
if the husbands are happy with the work situation of their wives or their in-laws, it makes a huge difference.
Exactly. So we have those flexibilities. You have your power hours that you can align with your manager, and it's not just for women. So it's more about gender equality rather than singling out a single gender. So those things I think have really helped. And of course, we touched upon sensitivities of especially abled people over here. I think gender sensitization is also something that we have really worked on, just to break that barrier that women need to be treated in a certain way. Yes, but all humans need to be treated in a certain way, which is by respect and
That
care.
is the first thing.
So within our DNA as an organization, we call it the PMI DNA. We say we care. We are better together. And we are game changers because we think about it from a caring lens. So all of these initiatives, as you said, work in progress, keep coming with different challenges that keep coming up for our employees, but they are at the crux of it. That's what matters the most. So it's just about balancing it out for all of the employees.
So I think all this ability to balance out is also part of reimagining work environments, restructuring the work day also around needs, challenges, etc. So I think काफ़ी ज़्यादा companies are looking into these perspectives, especially where all of you ladies are coming from. I hope that others also take inspiration.
Yeah.
Because आप खुद देख सकते हैं कि इतनी औरतें आ रही हैं workforce में because they are enabled, and you need to enable women to empower them further. So that's, I think, a whole
that is the idea of having this discussion
perspective.
to
Talking
inspire
about
other women to, you know, follow
and that's
your
when we talk about
example.
investing in women.
Yes.
So I think ये आप लोग ने बहुत मुख्तलिफ कंपनी से अपने व्यू पॉइंट्स शेयर किए हैं, that I'm sure our audience जो भी सुन रहे हैं, they will really take a lot of value addition from here. And I think talking about inclusivity and talking about so many different things that we have concluded with today, we hope to see a more positive response coming out. And Natasha, what do you think in media and in our kind of field, how do you think this is going to progress further?
No, definitely. I think women out there, women like them, they are role models for everyone. And the audience who are tuned in to us today, I'm sure they will be inspired by their journeys and, you know, the wonderful things that they had to share with us. And I hope that all other companies will be starting initiatives like these leading organizations that we have spoken about today. And we feel that, you know, Pakistan is almost there in terms of inclusivity, and, you know, it's a work in progress, and we are hoping for the best. And
this year's theme was Inspire Inclusion.
Yes.
So I think we have touched upon that with each and every one of you, and you've all given a lot of valuable input. So I think that to conclude, would anybody like to say something? Where do you feel, where do you all see Pakistan in the next 5 to 10 years? Let's take a long-term perspective with regards to gender equality.
Can I start?
Yeah.
So if I speak from the financial perspective, it was not just about, it has to be everyone thinking about it. Regulators going to do their part, but I think unless and until you feel that it is important, unless the men also feel that, you know, unless we work together, it's not going to work. So all of that, I see a lot of change now. When I started banking 15-16 saal pehle, I didn't have a lot of, you know, female bosses. There was not that many women around. That has changed a lot. You know, we see a lot of young girls coming in. We see, you know, leadership programs in place. We see women in boards now. So that has changed. That wasn't necessarily there earlier. But also the fact that when you give people opportunities of being able to return back, if something happens, you have the option of, you don't have to you don't have to give up your career. You don't have to stop, you know, being passionate about if you like your job or something, or if you want to try something different. You know, you have open doors, and a lot of things have changed now. A lot of careers that did not exist earlier, those are available now. And I think 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line, there'll be a lot new things happening that we have not thought of right now. So I think the fact that we're talking about it and we're open to it, and all of us are talking about, you know, having practices in place, and all of us are, like I said, work in progress. So we're evolving, and every day all of us are thinking of something new, and we're acknowledging the fact that unless we all work together, and if you're like 50% of women, that's a lot of us. And, you know, women need to help each other out. So I didn't have a women mentor, but a lot of my team members are women now. So I feel like I have learned something, and my male bosses have actually really helped. So you also need men to be, you know, enabling you and encouraging you further. And I'm thankful for all of them who have played a part in helping me be where I am. So I think the fact that, you know, all of us are working together, and the new generation is more aware, and they do not hesitate to ask for anything. So I think asking is the first thing. You know, if you need something, ask your boss. 99% of the times they will not say no. They will understand. They will, you know, make some adjustments, and you guys will work. So I think the future is bright. You know, we have a lot of interesting talent, and I think it's going to be a good 5-10 years time.
I'd like to share a statistic here. that labor force participation rate in Pakistan is just 21%, which stands well below the global rate of 31%. But I think, as we discussed, that I think we're in the right direction, and we hope that these numbers for women participation in the force, career force and labor force will increase in the future. And at this note, I would like to thank all of you for coming over and taking out time from your busy schedules. And it has been a pleasure to have you all here. And I'm sure that our viewers got some insightful discussions and food for thought. And you all have been an inspiration to these women to lead from the front. Thank you so much for coming. And I would like to end the discussion with a quote by Melinda Gates. A woman with a voice is by definition a strong woman. Thank you so much.